Nobody can touch me because I would get blacklisted for that. The persona in the front that we put forward into the universe.
You'd be standing and...
Hi, I'm Gabby.
Because I will miss that aspect.
Something else. Yeah. Like, bitch, we're friends. don't address me like that.
You're people, you're not creatures. I'm so sorry. I don't care if you hate me.
No. Tissue paper.
I dated a lot of Sagittarius men, and that just was not working.
Girls love her, boys love her.
And those connections and ideas change.
And if we want to legalize marijuana or not, I don't know.
75% of podcasts don't make it past the first year.
Hi, good morning. Okay, so we are on the last episode of our astrology series for this month. Next month we head into Bama Rush stories, back to school, and all things kind of education. So I'm super excited for that. But sad to be closing out astrology since that seems to be my expertise these days. So I kind of wanted to just kind of dive in today, and I asked you guys to ask questions on social media. So we're going to dive into those and kind of explain a little bit about the astrology that I feel like we haven't gotten to talk about yet. So let's go ahead and dive in. I have my handy dandy notes to talk about that. I think the easiest one to start with that everybody always asks me is a lot of times you'll hear about the sun, moon, and rising in your astrology. So basically, I'm going to break down exactly what that means, explain kind of what a chart is, and then we'll go from there. So basically, at literally the day of birth, we all have a chart that's specifically worked up to us. I think the best example I have is I have a girlfriend who quite literally is born same day, same year, and within an hour of me. But she was born in Canada, whereas I was born in Colorado. And it almost makes our birth charts very similar, but at the same time, they're still completely different. So basically, a birth chart is going to always be unique to you. Even if you're a twin, you're going to have a slightly different birth chart. So I think what's really cool about that is it's kind of like snowflakes. Astrology is snowflakes. But yeah, so basically, the biggest part of your chart is your sun, moon, and rising. Those things broken down. Your sun is kind of your personality traits. This is what we talk about the most. So this is the one that you probably, if you are not familiar with your chart, you still probably know exactly what your sun is. So your sun will actually be the one that is correlated with your birthday month and like that day. So as a February 7th baby, I'm an Aquarius. My sun is an Aquarius. Naturally, that's where you hear people go, oh, well, my horoscope said this or that. And I relate to this part of an Aquarius or this and that. That's where your sun comes from. So that's your personality. A lot of the times people will come to me and they'll be like, Gabby, I'm technically a Capricorn, but I don't feel like I act like a Capricorn. And that's where it comes into the chart and we break that down. So your sun is just your basic personality traits, your core being. Then you have your moon. Your moon is how you react to things emotionally. So I think what's really cool about the moon sign is I normally, when it comes to couples and compatibility, the first thing I do is start talking to you about your moon. And I ask what your partner's moon is and what your moon is. Or we chart that out to figure that out together. Your moon is how you're going to react emotionally to something. It's going to be your anger, your sadness, even your extreme happiness. You start to act like your moon. And then you have your rising, which is how you act in social settings around new people. That is like the persona in the front that we put forward into the universe. So a lot of times what will happen is since when you meet somebody new, you're putting out that rising sign. That's how a lot of people like if somebody's ever been like, guess my zodiac sign or something like that. It's a lot easier to guess their rising than it is to guess their sun, unless you know that person to their core. So that's just kind of a little breakdown of what sun, moon, and rising are. I think that that's like the best place to start when it comes to your chart. Charts are really cool. You can work those out. There's tons of websites you can do it online or you can do it on different apps. My absolute favorite app is Sanctuary app. So if that's something you want to look into, you can do that as well. But a lot of the times why somebody would hire somebody like me is to interpret that chart. I absolutely love it. I've been researching them for years. I love diving into them. On that chart, you'll have your sun, moon, and rising, obviously, but you'll also have your other planets. There's Mercury, there's Mars. Mars is very much like um, your anger kind of. I might be messing that up. No one quote me. Mercury and Mars, I get confused. Venus is your love, your chemistry, your sex, your communication, stuff like that. So it breaks down all the planets and it does explain on a lot of those apps what those planets mean. And then you also have your houses, which your houses break down different things. Like you have a house in money and finance, you have a house in relationships, you have a house in like job. And so like there's all different kinds of things to read from your chart. So I think that your chart's a really good place to start if you're wanting to learn more about yourself or your astrology side of things. But that is the core meaning of sun, moon, and rising, which is really easy to just kind of check on your chart. Those would be what I would start with when you're like learning about yourself. Let's move on to another question. Well, the next question was, what can my chart tell me about myself? It really is how you can communicate with others, how you can process things, your emotions, how to get along with others. I really love that I've been able to use my chart to learn more about myself, but also how to communicate with others and like our differences and our core values and stuff like that. I actually have this book, Astrology of You and Me. I highly recommend it, by Gary Goldschneider, I believe is how you would say that. But I think this one is super cool because what it actually does is it breaks down each sign, and then it tells you like the Gemini ex, the Gemini partner, the Gemini roommate, the Gemini mom, the Gemini dad. It breaks down every little like relationship you could have with somebody. So a lot of the times if I start a new business venture or I want to learn about something like from a person that I've become friends with or something like that, I go and I read about them. So let's like just random example. I'm gonna use Anais because you guys all know Anais. She's been on here now. Well, she was a two-part episode, so you guys saw her for that. She's also my employee, so I think this would be a fun one to do. She is a Taurus, so that's page 40. And what I could go here, they break it down to the Taurus client, coworker, employee. So like the Taurus employee. So right here, interviewer, and it goes really in depth. So I know you can't really see, but it's got interviewing or hiring the Taurus employee, breaking bad news or firing the Taurus employee, traveling with and entertaining the Taurus employee, assigning tasks to the Taurus employee, motivating or impressing the Taurus employee. So much. So there's so much in there. It talks about their strengths and weaknesses as a Taurus employee. So, dedication, work oriented, slow and sure. Weaknesses, procrastination, over relaxed, hedonistic. Interactive style is steady, confident, and understanding. So, I think that that's really interesting. I think that this really embodies Anais right here. It says Taurus employees are decidedly work oriented. However, they have their own way of accomplishing things, and it's usually in a relaxed fashion. This means that because their own personal comforts is so important to them, they're likely to proceed slowly and surely. Moreover, since they never do today what they can put off until tomorrow, they may have trouble meeting deadlines. Anais never has trouble meeting deadlines, but she does second guess herself for sure. So I feel like she does move slower through things, which I love because she asks a lot of questions. Um, let's see. Their bosses and coworkers will get better results through cajoling and gentle prodding rather than sharply ordering them about, which I feel like I have done a good job of. So I think that there's really cool things in this book that you can break down. So if that's something you're interested in, I think getting to know people better is how you have relationships. So I just think it's really cool. When I get a new friend, sometimes I'll check out like the new friend category and see like, maybe what might be their communication style or things like that. So I think that's a really cool one. So that's where I would start on learning about yourself and your chart and everything like that. I think while I have this book out, this will be a good question. I had specifically someone ask about the Capricorn and Aquarius compatibility. Um, so I love when people come to me and they're like, well, my boyfriend's this, or my girlfriend's this, or my husband's this. Are we compatible? And obviously, there's a lot more to that because your moons, like I said, if I'm looking for compatibility, I want my moon sign to be compatible with that person before anything else. But if we're just going to go based off like raw compatibility, Capricorn and Aquarius. A Capricorn and Aquarius, they definitely bring out the best in each other. I think that your guys' communication will be your best asset. Um, but they are very different people, so it'll be important in throughout your lives to accept each other's differences. Otherwise, they're actually a very compatible couple. So, we're the person that asked that. I hope that answers your questions. That same person also asked about like what their parenting style would be for a child that is a Sagittarius. And so I thought this was a good opportunity to bring out the book. I'm going to read the passage of a Capricorn mom, and then I will also do the Sagittarius daughter, which I mean, obviously, if you haven't had your child yet, you don't know if they'll end up being a Sagittarius, but let's do a Sagittarius daughter. And then I will also do the Aquarius father. So if we're doing Sagittarius, And I honestly think Sagittarius as a daughter is so great. I think that that'll be a really fun, exciting life. It's so funny because a lot of my friends are having babies right now, and figuring out what they're going to be like sign wise for me has just been so fun. And like, I feel like my baby gift to everybody is going to be charting the babies. So let's see. We've got Sagittarius friend. Nope. Roommate. I guess the baby is your roommate, right? Sagittarius child. So it does break down, like I said, hobbies and interests of this child, affection level, dealing with Sagittarius child, and interacting with siblings. So I'll definitely forward on this page for anybody that's interested, or if anybody wants to send me what their child will be, I'd be happy to share this page with you. But the core of it, Sagittarius child can be difficult or even impossible to control. Freedom loving to the extreme, Sagittarius children will break established rules and batter down barriers designed to contain them. These irresistible forces sweep all before them, except, of course, if they have a parent who is truly immovable object. In this case, knockdown drag-out battles are likely to ensue, causing continual upsets within the family. The wise parents are not only give Sagittarius children their freedom, but also allow them to win such freedom and take it at the end of a long struggle. Sagittarius is a mouthful, is what it is. Children live on the impossible challenges and pride themselves on winning as underdogs in unequal combat. So, I mean, that's kind of not a surprise to me at all. Sagittariuses are headstrong, but they are so passionate and fun. You will never have a dull moment. So we'll put it that way. The Capricorn mom. So it doesn't break down into mom and dad, but it does break down into parent. Um, they're authoritarian, protective, and controlling of their children on a daily, even hourly basis. That is, unless the other parent is more permissive and easygoing, the child is likely to have a little bit more freedom if they've got two competing parents, which Capricorns and Aquariuses will be very competing in that sense in a good way. They take their role very seriously as a parent. They definitely will want you to be great at everything. They don't want subpar children. They want their kids to have the best. So they'll make sure that they get that child the opportunities they need to succeed. Um, they are the authoritarian, though, in their relationship. So I find it interesting because the Aquarius parent, and I will pull that up just for good measure. But the Aquarius parent is definitely going to be a little bit more like free thinking, laissez faire. Whereas the Capricorn is definitely going to have to like be the one that draws boundaries and lines. So I wish you luck on that endeavor. It sounds like a lot of work, but very fun. Aquarian parents are free spirits. If they do choose to marry or have children, they tend to take an independent stance or encourage their children to fly the nest once they have reached young adulthood. They're not ones to be overly commanding or possessive. Aquarian parents love to see their children develop independent attitudes, but can be quite intolerant with their children breaking certain um, idealistic rules that they have set. Because Aquarians really, when like we have a mindset of like what's morally right or wrong, we want people to stick to that. I think that this Aquarian parent for a Sagittarius child is going to be awesome because, like I said, like Sagittarius free spirit, while that Aquarian parent is going to be really encouraging of that. So, unfortunately, for my Capricorn mom in this question scenario, you are going to have to be the one that's the authoritarian. There's always one parent that is. Um, so just keep that in mind. Thank you for that question, though. I appreciate it. It's kind of nice to break down an real life example for everybody. But if anybody has any questions on specific scenarios, they're more than welcome to ask, or I would invest in this book. I'm pretty sure you can get it on Amazon. I got mine at Barnes & Noble, so this is definitely an option for you as well. Let's move on to another question. What are the characteristics of earth, water, fire, and air? So basically, the zodiac signs are broken up into four categories. There's earth, water, fire, air, and they're the elements. So basically, for example, I'm an Aquarius, which this is the only one that's so confusing. Aquariuses are actually air signs. I know it has aqua in the word, and it is most commonly misdiagnosed as a water sign, but we are not water signs. We are air signs. So I think it's very misleading because our symbol is also the water bearer. So people see those like little water triangles, or they see like the guy pouring water out of we all have symbols basically. Like everybody has a symbol, like a Taurus is a bull, things like that. But Aquarians are air signs. So basically everybody's got an element, and that element tells you a little bit more about yourself as well. So an earth sign, earth signs are very grounded. They're very emotionally stable. They usually are people that are easy to rely on. They usually have a tendency to be very like maternal or paternal. They are strong characters and they stand in what they know. And that's kind of earth sign. A water sign, they tend to be the more emotional ones. I personally absolutely love Pisces, and I have a lot of Pisces girlfriends. These people think with their heart, not their mind all the time. They react emotionally to things. I don't think it's a bad thing. Some people don't love that, but I think it's really great and beautiful because they truly are passionate about everything they do. So water signs are definitely more on the emotional side, in tune, in touch with themselves. I think that water signs are some of the most emotionally mature people because they've processed every emotion they have. They know a feeling, they recognize that feeling, and then they process it. And I don't think a lot of other signs have that ability. Fire signs, I mean, I feel like they're self-explanatory. They're fiery. They're the big personalities. They're the loudest one in the room. Your fire signs, you've got Leos, you've got Aries, Sagittariuses. These are the people that are larger than life and they make sure you know it. So I've got a lot of fire sign friends too, which is always interesting because as much as an Aquarius is misdiagnosed as a water sign, their personality also tends to be a little bit fiery as well. So Aquarius is a very weird one in there. And then last but not least, you have air. Air signs are a little bit flighty, but they're very spontaneous. They're very, like the saying, go with the wind. That's how air signs are. They're willing to go with the flow and try just about anything. They're very open-minded as well. Like we're just airy beings just flow on through us. So that is exactly what the breakdown of fire, water, earth, air is. And every sign is one. So if you're curious, you can Google that or you can ask me. But that's kind of going to give you a little bit more information about yourself as well. Next, and this is like another good one, it's another definer of, so people just assume, oh, we have our zodiac sign. I'm a Capricorn, I'm a Pisces, I'm a Cancer, things like that. No. So like I said, you also have your element, but you also have modalities. So all signs have modalities, and basically they flow with the seasons. So there's fixed signs, there's cardinal, and then there's mutable. And a mutable is the end of a season. Cardinal is the start of the season, and then fixed is when you're hard in the season. So, for example, an Aquarius is in the season. So we tend to like kind of be more secure in where we're at, whereas like a mutable or a cardinal kind of like flow and wave. So every sign is one of those. I'm trying to think of some others off the top of my head. It's not something that like I've really memorized in my head. I know as an Aquarius, I'm a fixed sign, but I think an example, I think Libra's a cardinal. So they're the start of a season. So that's something to look into. It just also is another descriptor of how your personality is and why you are that way. So I think that's a cool one. Now, okay, we're getting into some more opinion-based questions. Um, And I love that. I want everybody to take my opinions with a grain of salt because just like I might give an opinion about a certain sign, remember that that sign is made up, like that person is made up of multiple signs. So you're not just an Aquarius, you're not just a Pisces, you're not just a Libra. You have so many different elements to you. So my intent is never to offend or hurt anybody's feelings by saying something specific about a sign, but here are some things and opinions that I got for questions about my opinions on the signs. So, of course, first out of the gate, I got like, what's the best sign? Someone wants to know the best sign. Of course, I'm going to biasly say Aquarius. I think Aquariuses are awesome. But if I take myself out of the equation, I absolutely love a Pisces. Pisces get a bad rep, especially Pisces men. I don't know very many Pisces men, so I don't really have an opinion. But Pisces women, I don't know why. I attract them. I love them. They are so fun to me and so like emotionally, I don't know. I just enjoy a Pisces woman. I used to have really large problems with Sagittarius women until I learned really how to kind of work with them. And ever since then, I've really enjoyed all the Sagittarius women I hang out with. I have multiple good friends that are Sagittarius women. Jordan is actually a Sagittarius woman. My friend Ashley is a Sagittarius woman, but I definitely had a rocky relationship in the Sagittarius world for a while there. Um, Let's see. I love a Libra, and that might be biased. I have a very good friend that's a Libra, and then Kyle is a Libra, so I really enjoy a Libra's presence. Geminis get a bad rep, but I get along with Geminis really well. I think it comes from being raised by a Gemini mother, so I'm really used to how they operate, what they want, what they say, what they do. So I do love a Gemini woman as well. As far as men, Kyle is my first Libra experience, and it has obviously been the best by far and most positive. Um, I will say before that, I dated a lot of Sagittarius men, and I don't feel like that was panning out for me well. I feel like it was very toxic. Oh, I also love a Scorpio. Scorpios are like that sign that are known to be a little bit dark and like moody and witchy, and I absolutely love a Scorpio. I'm a big fan of Scorpios. They get a bad rep though because they're very vengeful and they're very just kind of dark. But I like a Scorpio. I have a friend that's on the border of having a Sagittarius or a Scorpio baby, and I'm kind of hoping for a Scorpio. I think she needs a Scorpio. I think she'll have more fun with a Scorpio. So those would be my best signs. Best signs. What are some signs you see negatively? Okay, this is where I didn't want to offend anybody, but I knew somebody was going to ask this question. I think Sagittarius men, just because like I've had bad experiences with them. I've also had some bad experiences with Aquarius men. I think sometimes it's very hard for you to get along with your own sign when it comes to romantic partners. So I would say Aquarius men, Sagittarius men, Cancers all around. Cancer men, Cancer women, never a good time for me. They're very Cancers are very like when they care about you, they'll like go to bat for you and they're like there to do anything for you. But I do believe for them to get to a point of caring about something other themselves is very difficult. A lot of things that they do are very self-serving and very manipulative. They're very emotionally intelligent creatures. They're people, I promise. They're people. No, but cancers I feel like are very emotionally manipulative because they are so smart. And I've just been manipulated by both Cancer men and women way too many times for me to have good experiences. So all my friends who know me, like before I start talking shit about Cancers, I kind of look around and I'm like, is anybody a Cancer? And no one's ever a Cancer. I don't think I attract Cancers. The Cancers I have, they have not lasted long and they moved along. So I would say Cancers. I haven't had a ton of experience with Aries, but I know that like the Aries that I have encountered, sometimes their fight mode, which like they're fiery. Like I think that if I had to rank, and that's actually one of the questions, if I had to rank like the most fiery of each element or like the top of each element, I think Aries would be the most fiery of the fire. So sometimes I don't like how combative they are. But otherwise I haven't really had enough experience. So Aries are kind of up in the air. So that's my signs I see negatively. Um, I love this question. Are certain signs drawn to other specific signs? So I do believe this. There's obviously no evident proof, but I do believe that we attract certain signs. It's the same way that, like I've explained, I end up with all Pisces girlfriends. It's the same way before Kyle, how I feel like I dated a lot of Sagittarius men because I was into that toxic behavior of the Sagittarius man. I do think we attract certain signs. I think that it's really cool to get to know. I would love if you're like never thought about astrology. I have a homework assignment for you. Sorry. It's so weird. I'm adjusting still. We're still in the first month of me doing this all by myself. And it's very weird talking consistently for like, I know these episodes are going to be shorter at first. You guys have requested longer episodes when I was doing it with Jordan, and that was easier because we had some bounce back. It is going to be harder to start off with me doing it by myself, having a longer episode. Please bear with me. But I'm gonna get there. We're working. Should I start doing voice exercises? Like, is that where we're at now? But no, so bear with me because these episodes are going to be a little bit shorter just until I get my groove of talking to myself because it is a lot harder than people realize. So give me my credit. I'm working. Um, but yes, so I do think people are attracted to specific signs. Your homework that I was getting at for this week is to go and check out and like kind of look through your dating history and look through like your most common best friends and see if they have stuff in common with their signs. If you know their moon rising and sun, like look into that and see if like you dated people with similar moons. If you just know their sun, like I think it's very interesting because I know that I attract a certain person because I have what I call birthday season. And it's all of my friends have birthdays and it goes boom, 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 boom. And it's like 3 months span. So that's how I kind of know that like I have an astrology type and it's not something that's planned. Now that I know that about myself, I will say like when somebody goes, oh yeah, I'm a Pisces, I'm like, I think we're going to be friends. Like I do notice that stuff now, but I would empower you to try and see if that's something that you see a pattern within yourself. A lot of people don't see it right away or acknowledge it because it's not like a sun sign pattern, but like maybe you look at like your history of dating and you all these guys have the same moon sign or something like that. So look into that. That's your homework challenge. But I do think that we're drawn to specific signs. Yes. So check that out. Also, I've noticed that a lot of people tend to date or be very good with signs that are like their parents. So I really mesh with Leos, which my dad is a Leo. I know how to operate a Leo very well because Leos tend to also be like a big personality. But I feel like I know when to step out of a Leo's limelight, and that's not something that most signs know how to do. And I don't think it's an Aquarius thing. I think it just comes from like living and breathing with a Leo. Same thing with Gemini. My mom's a Gemini. I have quite a few girlfriends that are Geminis now. And like I said, Geminis normally get a bad rep. Geminis are the twin sign. So they're known as that twin sign, which people often like contribute to being two-faced. I don't believe that that's the case with them. I think that they're morphers. Kyle's rising is a Gemini, so it's his ability to, and I think we might have talked about this in this episode, but his ability to walk into any room and be able to talk to somebody. I don't think it makes you two-faced or fake. I think it's a really good life skill to be able to get along with all people, and Gemini tend to be able to get along with all people. So that's kind of where I lie on signs like that, but I do think that parents are a big attribute of how you get along with signs because you spent most of your time with them. I will say siblings as well. My brother is also a Gemini, so I just like really grew up in a Gemini Leo house, which is a very interesting combination, but very fun to say the least. While we're on the topic, I think like ranking the signs will be fun. I'm gonna rank them, and this is my personal opinion, as what the element is, the best of that element or the most intense of that element. So I already told you, I think that as far as fire signs, I do think that Aries is the most fiery. Leo would be a second, then Sagittarius, because Sagittarius like doesn't care enough to be fiery. Like they just want to do what they want to do, which also gives me a little bit of air sign to them. So I feel like the most fiery of them is Aries. I think as far as watery, I think the biggest crybabies are Pisces, and that would make them the most watery to me. But Cancers are a close second. Not because they cry, but I think because they can manipulate emotions, and watery is supposed to be like the emotional sign. As far as air, I think the most airy, I do have to go with Aquarius. Libras are also air signs, but I do feel like Libras, because they're the sign, so they're the balance sign. So I don't know if you've ever seen their zodiac sign, but they have like the scale, and they're very big on justice. And when a Libra feels something is right and morally right, they dig their heels in and like everybody else is wrong. And I don't feel like it's very air sign of them. Um, so yeah, I don't know on that one. I think as far as Earth, the most earthy sign is a Taurus. Um, I feel like they take the cake on Earth signs just because they are the most grounded, but they're also the most stubborn. And for me, for some reason, like stubbornness really screams earthy to me. So yeah, I'm gonna go Taurus. So that's how I would rank those. Um, I feel like ranking them from like most I don't know. I'm trying to think of like a topic to rank them on. I think most type A to type B. You've got Capricorn right out the gate that's like a type A. Um, I think your most type B or like go with the flow chill sign is probably going to be not a Virgo. Virgo is going to be type A. Taurus is going to be type A because I haven't talked much about Virgos. Virgos are like one of those signs where I know a couple people that are Virgos, but I don't know much about Virgos. So take that with a grain of salt. I think like maybe your most type B is gonna be maybe Libra, maybe Scorpio. I think Scorpios, like I said, they've got that witchy side to them, so they're really like just open and like go with the flow because like the universe tells them that that's how it's supposed to be. Um, so yeah, I think that's how I would rank the signs on that. Next question is, do you think knowing the sign of who your partner is important? I feel like we've touched on this, but I will kind of reiterate and wrap that up. I do think it's very important, specifically more your moon sign, but like just all of the aspects of their sign in general. I think it's really helpful going through Kyle's chart and being able to be like, oh, okay, so when he's angry, he's going to act like this. Oh, okay, like financially, he's going to do this. It's just like, I feel like you hear a lot about like people, especially in religious organizations, how a lot of the times, and I think it's Catholicism and Christianity, people go to counseling before they get married. I was recently at a wedding for work, and the grandfather was actually doing the ceremony. And in the ceremony, he talked about how he had been doing counseling with the couple for a while just so that they could like know each other better before this marriage and like prepare in the eyes of God for this marriage. And I just thought that was really cool in the sense that they had this counseling. They knew like how they were going to operate financially. They knew their roles and like what they wanted in the house. And like there's no right or wrong role or answer or system, but to know your partner like that is important. And I think in my religion, my headspace, astrology is that for me. So the same way that they believe in like the eyes and the laws of God, I believe that in the astrology sense. So I do think it's important knowing, okay, this house for him talks about finances and rules and regulations. I want to know what his sign is there so I can learn more about like how he's going to act with me financially, things like that. So I think it is very important. So I want you to make a date night. This is your second. I hope everybody's keeping notes. This is your second portion of homework. I want you to do a date night, an astrology date night. And I want you guys to print your charts out and I want you guys to go over them and find where you relate, where you guys diverge, what aspects you can work on, and everything like that. And if that's not something you know how to get that chart or have access to it, or you want my help to walk through it or explain anything, please reach out. You know where to get me. You can DM me on Instagram. You can send an email, which there's a link in my bio to my email or the Z-List Celebrities email. Um, any form of communication, feel free to reach out. But I do think that that's very important. So do a date night if you have a partner. If you don't have a partner, I highly suggest learning about yourself more and then going and looking into other signs and seeing what's compatible with you. So it could be a fun thing where it's like, okay, I know that I really need this in a relationship. What signs bring that to the table? And I'm not saying we need to be like the cliche meme that's like, I asked him his big three on a date, or like he called his mom for his birth time and she said break up with her, like those kinds of things. You don't need to do that. But as you get to know that person, like maybe you'll be able to guess their sign. Maybe you'll be able to have an open conversation about it. So I think that that's very important. This one's funny. I feel like we already kind of covered it. What's the most annoying sign to you? I, like I said, I just don't vibe with cancers. I don't know if I would say they're particularly annoying. I don't really find cancers to be annoying, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's where I lie on that. Most outgoing sign was another question. That's going to be Leos to me. I think Leos are just the most outgoing creatures. I keep calling people creatures. Um, but yeah, no, I think that's where I kind of lie on all that. The last kind of questions that I kind of wanted to go over was why I believe in astrology and why I feel like it's real. So I think a really good breakdown for that is people really like blow off astrology as like witchy and hippie and things like that. What people don't realize is astrology is actually based in core principles of science. I also have my doggo Snoop, who you're going to see in the corner here. She's come to join us. You leaving, Blue? She's gone. She was here as quickly and left. So basically it's based in like science principles. So how I would kind of break that down is everything in astrology is based on the position of the planets and the moon and the sun, obviously, and our planetary pool. So just like the moon from science, we've had influences that basically the moon pulls our tides and like gravity pull and things like that. The way that our tides are affected by the moon, I strongly believe our bodies are affected by as well. So we're made up of mainly water, and water is so controlled by those gravitational pulls. So I do believe it affects our personality and who we are as people. So when I have my girlfriends texting me and they're like, what's going on with the moon this week? Or what's wrong in the universe? It's truly like they mean it funny. Like Kelsey, who will actually be on next season talking about Bama Rush because she was a Bama Rush girly. She constantly, I know she doesn't like fully believe in astrology, but she'll constantly be texting me and being like, well, is Mercury in the microwave again and things like that. And I just think it's funny because it quite literally is attributed to the fact that we are connected to all of the planetary systems. I personally believe that like we are so much a part of this universe, and as much as like the planets move, they shift. Our seasons, our changes. It's the same way. Like we are, all of our signs have an element. All of our signs have a season. I feel like we are a piece of this planetary system that functions. I don't just think that we were plopped here and then we're not connected to everything around us. I thought it was really cool that a really cool TikTok that Kyle showed me yesterday. And it was this guy, and he had, I don't even know what to call it. I feel like I'm going to be a very bad explainer of this, but it was like electromagnetic. Hey, Kyle, come here. Kyle's going to explain this better, but I thought it was a really cool video, and it kind of like breaks down our connection with the earth. So I think that was really awesome. You know, the TikTok that you showed me last night with the, what is that tool called where he had it plugged into the ground?
A voltometer?
Yeah, speak loud.
I don't know if that's correct.
A voltometer.
It reads current.
Explain that video, because you explained it to me really well.
Well, it's the whole idea behind grounding.
Okay.
Like you take your shoes off and, grounding's supposed to be good for you. We have like, the rubber and plastic soles of our shoes
Blue's about to vomit in the corner.
that stop electrical current that like primitive people would have had, and that could be like an explanation to all of our chronic illnesses and like.
So what happened on the
lesser
machine that like, because like you explained it really well last night.
Oh, it's just a positive and negative probe. He put the negative probe, stabbed it in the ground, and then he had one shoe on and one shoe off. And then when he was standing on the foot with the shoe, he held the positive end, and it read like a very small electrical current. And then he put his bare foot down on the ground, and it read like, what was it, like 50 something ohms or whatever?
Yeah.
And it was like 0.3 ohms with the shoe, 50 ohms without the shoe.
So he wasn't feeling the electronic.
He was disconnected from, air quote, Earth's current with the shoe on and then connected to it.
Okay.
Without.
Do you think that that's really similar, like the electronic piece of that is similar to like the tide pools?
Could be.
Could be. I don't know. That's the extent of Kyle's scientific
Moon and
ability.
stuff.
Moon and stuff, he said. Anyways, thanks Kyle for your voice and that.
Voice.
Nobody
Yes,
saw
yeah.
you, but you were heard. Oh, you want a coffee? Is that for me?
You're not gonna like that.
Oh yeah, baby. It's actually not that bad. Anyways, so that was just what I was getting at with that, is I just feel like there's a lot of pulls and things in this universe that make us who we are. And I do think that astrology is one of those. So with our bodies being, like I said, the tides made up of water, I do think that a lot of the times when like the moon is affecting things on our planet, that it affects us as well. So like, for example, when we have Mercury retrograde and things like that, it's essentially like the planet going backwards. I do think that that kind of makes us all a little nutty, And then when it reverses and goes back to move forward, that's why they say, so like a lot of the times, I know everybody's heard about Mercury retrograde because the jokes are endless. But I think what's really cool about it is the reason that people say, don't make big purchases, don't make big life changes, big job changes, things that are like big moments that you don't want reversed because you're moving forward. When Mercury's in retrograde, we're moving backwards. And anything you do during this time is said to, once Mercury retrograde is moving forward again, to be reversed, to be erased, to be fall apart. My favorite story from my mom is, and my dad's not an astrology subscriber. My dad's Catholic, my mom is Jewish, and my mom listens to the podcast. So if I get stories or details of the story wrong, I'm sure I'll hear about it later. But basically, I guess during Mercury retrograde back, I think long before I was born, my dad decided to buy a gold Porsche. Feels aggressive, feels really unnecessary. A gold Porsche feels a little tacky. Love you, Dad. But he decided to buy a gold Porsche, and he did it during Mercury retrograde. And the minute Mercury retrograde was over, that car like fell apart. Like I don't even think he was able to like sell it. I think it was like sold for pieces. So an example, like don't buy cars. I've been always really big on like never signing a lease during Mercury retrograde. Yeah, I mean, those kinds of things. I am so like aware and in tune of those things that even like when we were picking wedding dates, I wanted to make sure it was like a really good day for like a wedding. My aunt, who's like on that kind of astrology psychic line of things, she charted out really good days for both of our signs where we would both be in a sound mind and body like state. So I think that that's super cool. But yeah, so there's just so many little pieces. And it really, when you do look into it, it does become very scientific. So it's very interesting to see how that all plays out. But I feel like that's all I have right now that aren't like repetitive questions. I really enjoyed talking about this. It's one of like my biggest passions. So hopefully maybe again I'll do another month of astrology and we can get more in depth, or we can get more guests. Maybe we can do some tarot stuff because I feel like this month we really talked a lot about astrology and not tarot. Thank you for joining on every piece of this. I'm grateful for Kyle to have been a guest with me on this and to be able to also do that vlog that we just got to do, which was super fun. Thank you for everybody that reached out and asked questions. I'm super excited for next month, so get ready. Like I said, we have back to school stuff, and we actually have a lot more guests for this season. So season, you know what I mean, next month. I'm super pumped about that. And then September will be a whole new category, which I am going to wait and tell you because we're not going to get into it yet. But I appreciate it. Please do all the things like comment, share, subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, tell me how fucking crazy I look right now, because I do. I hope everybody noticed who was watching my Aquarius shirt. It says, "People think I'm funny," and I honestly I don't even know what it says. And I don't know. I blank a lot of, I don't know. I really can't read my own shirt. Somebody read it for me. Anyways, I love my Aquarius shirt. This is actually, I'll link it. I can't remember exactly what the company is called off the top of my head, so I'm not going to say it. But it's a really cool company. They do all of the different zodiac signs. I have an 11/11 shirt by them too. That's super cute. So I will link that below. But otherwise, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. See you next Thursday.